citizens and civilians alike. This is your friendly bearded space Viking, Erik the Cat McKetten, and his equally friendly AI, Signy, here with another in a series of spaceflight instruction videos. Signy, say hello to the viewers.
Those mouth breathers? I'd rather interface with the Mac.
Signy has a tendency to come off as abrasive. Trust me, she's really a nice AI. Today, we are covering basic spaceflight using the Gamepad. This is based around the Xbox 360 Gamepad as it works natively with Windows. It is not my preferred method, and I highly recommend you experiment with various controls. Highly recommend. In its current state, I feel the Gamepad control scheme is woefully inadequate for Star Citizen. However, if you insist on using it, I will try to help you as best as I can. I will be using the Aegis Gladius for all of my instructional videos. The Gladius has classic spaceship and airplane lines, a shape that all should be familiar with, and this should help in visualizing what our control inputs are doing to the ship itself. Alright, let's get down and dirty with the ugly truth of Gamepad flight. The first control is the basic pitch maneuver. By moving the left stick on the Y-axis, or up and down, we move the nose of our ship up and down. To yaw, move the left stick on the X-axis, left and right, and the nose of the ship moves left and right. The last of the basic maneuvers is the roll. The default binding for roll left and roll right are left trigger plus left stick. You use the right stick to look around and aim any articulated, or gimbaled as it was, weapons. But we can't just stick to just pitch, yaw, and roll, and sadly, this is where the Gamepad fails. You see, we have what is known as strafing. If you have played any first-person shooters, you are familiar with strafing. Strafing is sliding to the left, right, up, down, and even in Star Citizen, forward and back. The thing is, strafing is extremely important in Star Citizen, not just for basic flight, but for combat as well, and the default setup for the Gamepad leaves much to be desired. We achieve this on the Gamepad by holding down left trigger and using the right stick. This way we can strafe up, down, left, and right. Unfortunately, one of the advantages of strafing is what is known as the circle strafe, where we move one direction while turning in the other, effectively orbiting our target. This is not possible with the default Gamepad bindings, because holding down the left trigger removes yaw on the left stick and replaces it with roll, and thus heavily negates any advantage strafing would otherwise give. Let us not linger, however. The throttle is controlled by the right bumper for acceleration. Double tapping it will match the velocity of your target. The left bumper is used to throttle down, and double tapping it will reduce your throttle to 0. Okay, so we know the basics of traditional atmospheric style flight in Star Citizen, but there is also a non-traditional flight mode. Also known as decoupled mode, this alternate flight mode is activated by clicking the left stick while holding down the left trigger. What decoupled mode does is separates or decouples the heading or direction our nose is pointed from the bearing or direction our ship is traveling. We demonstrate this by accelerating in one direction until we are at top speed. Notice I am flying this direction at 220 meters per second. Next, I will hold left trigger and click the left stick to decouple. As I turn, my ship, now in decoupled mode, continues traveling along the original bearing, regardless of where my nose is pointed. While I'm in decoupled mode, I can change the direction of travel by using the left stick and right stick, and strafe forward and backwards using the right and left bumper, as well as strafe left, right, up, and down. To exit decoupled mode, I hold left trigger and click the left stick again. The ship's intelligent flight control system will then fire whatever thrusters necessary to push the ship in the direction we are currently facing, and thus returning us to an atmospheric style of flight. Before we end our basic coverage of Gamepad controls, we should go over boost and space brake. Boost is essentially afterburners. Pressing the B button will increase the energy output of whatever maneuvering thrusters are currently firing. For example, if I accelerate by holding down the right bumper and combine that with the B button, I will reach full velocity much faster. Boost can also be used in conjunction with any other maneuver. Be aware that boost consumes fuel. Fuel is recharged over time. But if your fuel reaches 0, you will have little or no boost, and that can be the difference between life or death in a combat scenario. Space brake, or Newtonian brake, is controlled by default by pressing and holding first the right and then left bumpers simultaneously. It negates all current momentum, regardless of direction, without changing the throttle setting. Space brake is very useful for minute course corrections during the heat of battle and to prevent ramming of other ships or crashing into asteroids. Furthermore, space brake can also be boosted. In the end, it is up to you to decide what control method you prefer. I strongly urge you to study the controls, adjusting them as you see fit, and experiment with the input methods. I also highly recommend you practice basic flight in free flight mode or on the race courses, and when you begin to feel comfortable with them, then take a step into Vanduul Swarm to introduce yourself to combat. Once you feel comfortable with Vanduul Swarm, it may be time to try out player versus player combat. I highly recommend the Squadron Battle game mode over Battle Royale. Having wingmen is more useful than you could possibly imagine. So, this concludes our introductory lesson. I hope you found it useful in conjunction with the articles, and feel free to post questions on the articles or on the YouTube videos, or find me in my Twitch stream. Until next time, citizens, see you in the verse.